People, deluded, I'm back again. Josh Kronkee has obviously had some things to say in regards to, well, the club his family own in layman terms, realistically, people. He's touched on the fans, he's touched on the future, he's touched on his love for the sport and sports in general. Yeah, he's just sat down and had an interview on Arsenal.com. If you want to draw your own conclusions and get your own context, people, just go on Arsenal.com. It's there for everybody to see. If you just type in Kronkee or Arsenal, it comes up, and there's several other sites. So I'd implore you all to read it for yourself. I believe there's a video on YouTube. So for those of you that want to kind of get a feel of what he's saying in an emotional sense, you lot can go out there and do your thing. So yeah, man, go out there and do that. But in regards to what I took from it, we might as well carry on and speak about certain things. First and foremost is actually the first thing I saw, which had actually alerted me that this article was real, to be fair with you, or that he's actually spoke. Because you lot know with social media, it's a case of did someone actually say something? If there's not a verified source, what I mean by that is either a video or publication that's credited to tell the truth and say what a man said, because we all know fake quotes and fake interviews fly around on the social media. So yeah, when I found that it was real, I pre'd it myself. And the first thing that took me, and I don't know how to kind of feel about this. Again, I should have really watched the video and got a sense of where he's coming from in the sense of his tone. But he said, not all of it, but one segment is, and we're not only going to bring them to Arsenal, we'll be able to keep them in the fold going forward. He was probably in that segment talking about players coming into the club. I understand that fans just want us to spend money, but frankly, that's not their job. Their job is to come and cheer us on the pitch. I don't mind if they have unrealistic expectations, because without that passion, we don't have a business. We need that passion because that's the only way sports thrives. So that tells you one thing, that clubs clearly know, for better or worse, whether it's milking the fans for money or whatnot, they can see that they need fans to be passionate about the sport. At the end of the day, at grassroots level, at the base of it, if fans don't go to games, tickets ain't sold. Yes, they'll probably still get TV money, but if fans stop going to games and stop having that passion for the teams and watching their football via several streams, there won't be a business. It does sound a bit like a dictatorship in that of sorts as well. And again, I get the fact fans are, on one hand, I get what he means, because fans just think money fixes everything. I do get it, fans are a bit crazy, but for the rational fans out there, we're just asking that some money is spent in several areas or certain areas to invest a team. Where if you can sign someone that can do that job for 2 million, I always say it, that's great. With the dynamic of football today, you need to go out there and do the thing. The one theme I'm getting from this, for me personally, people, is seeing is believing. It's very good to come out here and have these calls to action of sorts, people, but at the end of the day, when you cut through it, you have to be able to follow through and do several things, man. Apologies for the delay, people. I'm actually waiting for my email to load. Here we go. So let's crack on with the rest of it. For what it's worth, at least I'll give Kronkee, for whatever people say about his dad and whatnot. At least Josh was seen at the Europa League final. At least he's coming out and spoken. I might not necessarily agree with what he's saying. I might not necessarily think people are gonna follow through. I'm sure most Arsenal fans and football fans in general can forgive me of being pessimistic in regards to actions to take our club forward. What I mean by that is, clearly we want to move forward. There wouldn't be a restructure of several different people and whatnot if we didn't want to go forward. But we know what several things have been mismanaged and things like that. I just want to see that fixed up, to be fair with you. I just want to be able to, of course I love my club, but I just want to, first and foremost, I just want to be able to look at my club and there's no dramas over contracts, managerial stuff, and all the other themes Arsenal give. And second of all, we've got players that actually want to be here, that want to put in a shift for the shirt. If you do that, fans go away, people, realistically. I mean, fan nonsense goes away. Cracking on. Let's talk about your role with Arsenal. How would you clarify it? I'm the vice chairman of Kronkee Sports and Entertainment. Kronkee Sports and Entertainment is the owner, I guess you would call it, of Arsenal Football Club. I would not call us owners. I would say that we're custodians of the club in an ownership position. You have to be aware of the values and traditions of the club. We want to be custodians of those as we move forward. Whenever I speak on behalf of my family and my father. Whenever my father speaks, he speaks on behalf of myself and my family. We're really excited to be involved with the club and continue to drive it moving forward. So like I was saying before I got onto that, people, like I said, we wouldn't make these changes if the club didn't want to move forward. But it's just at times several simple things that could be done. It just appears that fans are not always right, because fans call mad stuff. But it just feels like everybody and their dog, apart from people in certain positions, can see several things that need to be done or certain business that needs to be done. Again, I'm not going to bash the club and say this and that until the end of the window comes. I don't know what the club's planning moving forward. I don't know in it. Nobody knows. We can talk about Saliba and Turney and Zaha and Ceballos now and this guy and that guy. Until they're signed, we don't know. Hopefully, I would love some of these players, Everton as well, to sign for the club. But I hope that not only are these guys our targets, but you've got plan Bs, plan Cs, plan Ds, because things happen in football. For what it's worth, that little bit about clarifying his role and the custodians bit, I mean, that's a smart wording of sentences, because if you read between the lines, Kronkee is accused of being a dictator and things like that. If he says he's a custodian, that language implies to the fans that they're merely shepherds looking after your flock essentially. They don't own it. So that's very smart, and whoever wrote that's very, very good. And yeah, man. Moving on, when it comes to sport, what are your values, Josh? What do you stand for? I think that sport stands for competition, it stands for respect, and it stands for a lot of different things that can be attributed to the rest of your life. Teamwork, honour, integrity. But for us, it's mostly about winning. There's a lot of things that happen in the ebbs and flows of professional sport. Nothing equals that feeling of winning. Now, Arsenal are a club, we might not be winning of late, but we've won stuff. We might be failing in terms of the Champions League. We've won some FA Cups. We've got to a final. So on one hand, they'll probably look at that and say we're fairly competitive. We know Arsenal is not where it should be. We know Arsenal is not where it could be if things were different, people. And again, it's very interesting hearing that. Again, I agree with what he said in that it stands for integrity and all of them words, and with Arsenal's winning through harmony and all of the values our club stand for. Again, it's a nice, pretty statement. Nothing equals the feeling of winning, like you see with their teams in certain other sports, doing things in certain other stadiums being built. You see them doing great things there and doing things there, but it might not necessarily be reflected at the Emirates. He said our ambitions are silverware and trophies. I think anything short of that is not a success. There are certain things you have to do to lay the foundation to achieve those goals, and I think we've done that over the past 12 to 14 months. From our coaching staff to our management, there have been significant changes that have gone up, and I'm really excited to let those foundations continue to grow and take shape to build a successful future for Arsenal. That's what I said, people. For as much we can sit here and criticise and say all of these things, there has been, as I said earlier, there has been changes. Head of director. Again, could these positions could have been filled earlier? Could this intent to move the club forward could have been done earlier? Of course. But fair play. That's a lovely rehearsed statement. Again, our ambitions are silverware. You've talked about winning and custodians and of the club and winning. These are the good language that will keep fans off the back temporarily and things like that. Talking about building the future for Arsenal, of course, that's going to entice fans. Moving on, he was asked about the Premier League and its competitive nature and things like that. He's asked how do we win in short, not the league, but win in general. He said and get to where we should be. It's a daily approach. There are no shortcuts. As much as we would love to say that we'll be competing for top trophies tomorrow, we know that's not the case, and we have to get to work on that. That's a daily approach to the little things from the top down. We understand that there's a daily approach and a daily requirement of detail that goes into the overall approach of building the club back to where it needs to be. You can't miss out any of those details, and you can't skip any days of work. Again, I agree with that. Generally, it's a good statement. Like, what can I say? That is, if you frame that up, how can anyone disagree with that? Anyone of logic disagree with that, people? It don't make no sense. And again, it ties in with the sort of language and calls to action and sort of it's provoking inspiration sort of thing by reading this, people, whether you support Arsenal or not. He was asked about last season, about possible positives and how we came close and fell short. He went on to say, up until the last weeks of the Premier League, we were on track for one of the Champions League spaces. To travel the way to Baku and ultimately fall short of our goal of winning a trophy last year and the Europa League, which would have been our first European trophy in quite a long time, it was very hard. I was there on the pitch with our players, with our staff. I was there on the podium handing out our second place medals after the match. I could see their frustration. I could see their despair. I felt that. I understand that. I was living in the moment with them. Coming out of that, I am proud to say that I think there's a true resolve behind the scenes to never feel that again at the club while we're together. It's going to be a lot of hard work to try and understand the mentality Edu is trying to bring back to us from the Invincible days. Not everyone might be ready for the work that lies ahead. We're going to be talking, communicating, and having honest dialogue about where we're going to go about our processes to achieve those ultimate goals of winning that silverware that we know we need. Again, people, that's positive to hear from me, because what do I say that all the time in my vids. That feeling of defeat, how you felt missing out on top 4 or the Europa League. You lot that have been rocking with me, you know you can quote me saying these things. Remember capturing that feeling of regret, despair, anguish, anger, sadness, and remembering that in May or March when it's crunch time and Spurs and Chelsea and United and all the other clubs are neck and neck for top 4. Remember that feeling should make you sick. That feeling should keep you up at night when you kiss your wife and kids goodnight. You should be up in your bed scared about that. And I don't feel that fear factor is at our club. So of course I'd like to hear that from him, obviously talking about the despair. Obviously Edu's coming to the club in his role, Invincible. Of course that's good to say, and again that's going to tie in with the inspirational language. He was then asked more or less about skeptics, and he would say, to all our fans, I say thank you. Without their support, we wouldn't have a club. We need their support to be able to go out and do what we do. I think there's always going to be challenges in everything we do as a club, whether we're having the ultimate success on the pitch or not. But we need to understand that we are a group together and we all have the same interests. We're really excited about the challenges that lie ahead, and we're not going to shy away from them. We're excited to one day look back at a point at these moments where this group came together as the start of something special. So again, calls to action, inspirational talk, togetherness, galvanising people. Again, tying in with Arsenal winning through harmony. Again, good statement. Seeing is believing, but these are good statements. He was then asked, we're in the middle of the transfer window and fans are hoping for signings. What would you say to them? Now, I feel he's done quite well in terms of... Because obviously we need to remember there's the fan protests and all of these things. I think I don't know if this was always scheduled, but this seems off the back of me without doing my research that this is kind of to combat that. And now this is where I think the statements get a bit dangerous. Now again, we don't know what the club have planned, and again, we'll wait until the end of the transfer window, to see what signings can happen. Because unless you're Edu, one of the Kronkees, Una Emre, or not even some of the players probably don't even know. You don't know what's happening. So we'll talk about that then. Obviously, right now it's frustrating, but until then, this is where I think it went a bit. No, I wouldn't say left people, but this is where if certain things don't happen, or if fans start to feel underwhelmed, could be bringing it on himself. He said, in relation to being asked about fans, what he'd say to them, he would say, be excited. Now, clearly, people, many Arsenal fans are very pessimistic. Many fans are also... There's rarely any balance in football, and specifically Arsenal fans, you either got the people finding positives where there's none, and you've got the people doom and gloom. There's never really balance. To the pessimistics, you're going to get disgruntled if they don't feel every area is addressed. To the excited ones, they're going to get that and ultimately feel heartache. Seeing is believing. Again, be excited. That's very dangerous language to use, because you're hearing on one hand we can't afford Zaha, but on the other hand we can afford Zaha. So if you take be excited, if a naive fan takes, and the majority of fans are naive, let's not be silly people, they take the Zaha thing, they hear be excited. Again, if you don't work for the club, you don't know what's happening, and they don't see Zaha coming in, or they don't see Saliba, or they don't see Turney, and they don't deem the plan Bs or contingency plan signings good enough, you can see how they can become disgruntled more so than they already are. Carrying on from the being excited bit, there are a few things that I know our group are working on, and a few things we hopefully have on the doorstep. Nothing is ever a done deal until it's a done deal. Obviously, but we know we have key areas we want to address in our squad, both now and in the future. Our entire football operations staff have a great grasp on that, and I've encouraged them to be as aggressive as possible. So that tells you we're trying to, in tying in with being excited, aggressive. What does aggressive mean? You're on the front foot, you're proactive, you're more likely to kind of fix the issue, considering where Arsenal have been as well. Again, this could entice fans. I can't speak for no fan, but I'm personally seeing and believing. If I'm being completely honest, I don't believe none of these people. Not that he's saying anything's wrong. I just believe he's seeing and believing. Seeing is believing. What I mean by not believing that, I don't think he's necessarily talking nonsense, but I feel... As much as I love my club, it's easy to come out here and say all of these things and present the calls to action. I need to see, because we've been here before. I'm not going to blast the club and say this and that and all of these things. I need to be inspired. It's down to the club now to inspire the fans, because we've been inspired. We've been on this thing. Arsenal fans have even now, some of them are the most passionate and optimistic of fans. And never lose your passion, I didn't mean that word. Optimistic of fans. They need to inspire us. The players need to, first and foremost, the players that are at this club and the players that are brought in and the players that you can move forward with, they need to galvanise the fans. We need to see you playing away from home, keeping clean sheets, fighting. If you do that, the fans will do the rest. Sometimes, of course, the fans need to pick up the players, and maybe fans, if not necessarily away, I feel our away support is great, people. Fans need to pick up the players, but it's down to the players to inspire us. If we see intent from the top up, top down, as in the Edus and all of these guys, they're doing what they need to do. Emre's presented with something he can work forward with. He gets his coaching thingies in, coaching aspects and all of that and patterns that. The players, now with better consistency, defending and all the other things we need to improve on, are showing us fans something. They're showing us that they're improving from their mistakes. They're fighting for the shirt. The fans will do the rest. Because if I'm honest with you, there's been occasional incidences, the Europa League and in general, and isolated incidences where we've been up for it. But over 38 games, the players haven't, if we be 100% honest, the players haven't replicated that. I'm not saying these players don't care, because I don't feel there's one player that doesn't care. I just feel there's players that can't fight, won't fight, in fact to a degree won't fight, or just don't know how to fight. And what I mean by fighting isn't flying into a million tackles, people. That means whatever your job is, you're doing it to your best of ability. You're leaving that field and looking yourself honestly in the mirror and saying, I don't feel I could have done anything better. Because if that's all I demand, if you give your 100% effort and we lose to the better team, or the other team finer margins do better than us, what can people say? But I honestly, as a football fan, don't feel players at my club, after a heavy defeat, other fans banter us after a heavy defeat. I don't feel players are going in that locker room and asking honest questions. I'm not saying people are not upset, people. For the smart ones that subscribe to me, you understand specifically what I'm saying. Until these things are brought in, who knows, people? Cracking on, there's a famous motto at Arsenal, winning through harmony. What does that mean to you? It can mean a lot of different things, but I think for me personally, what it means is an organisational harmony from top to bottom, where everyone is pursuing the exact same goal. They might have different ideas about how we go about getting there, but that means we're having honest and open dialogue about our own thoughts and creating harmony in the back office, on the coaching staff and leading down the pitch, where everyone's pulling in the same direction and know exactly what we're trying to accomplish and when. And that ties into, obviously, Raul, Emre as the head coach, Edu, all of these other guys with different opinions, different football principles, seeing football through a different lens, bringing their many different excellent professional skills together to move the club forward. Raul Sanye, he's got contacts, utilise them. Edu, how do we move forward? What sort of areas do we need to address? Liaising with Emre to get that forward. Obviously, Emre's the coach, so he does his thing. In an ideal world, if everyone's doing their job and things aren't going well, you should be able to transparently see what isn't going well. If the coaching's good, if the coaching's good, but the players that are necessarily coming in aren't of the standard, or this is looking way into the future, or players aren't performing, or when we're coming to sign players for certain areas, it's not being fixed, or we're not getting young players with resale value, then you look at the recruitment, people. You look at Edu and whatnot and say, what's going on? Contracts, Husfami and Raul Sanye, like, we have to look at you. If these lot are doing their jobs, but the coaching on the field or the on-pitch performances aren't matching up, you look at the players, and obviously it falls at Unai Emery. Right now, we've been mismanaged over the years, and there's many people you can blame, you can praise, you can do this and the other. The truth is, it doesn't lie just at one person. You could even say, people will say here and say the owner this, the owner that, and I share some of your opinions, people. But at the end of the day, the on one hand, the culture comes from the top up. If they really wanted to win Prems and them things there, it would happen, because they would make sure it happens. But at the same time, it's not just one person's fault as to why we're here as a football club. We all need to pull together. For me personally, it's a seeing is believing thing. I love my club. It's cringy, but I bleed red for obvious reasons, a little joke. But I love my football club, people. No one can tell me I don't love my football club. I've got around 3,000 videos out here. How many have been about Arsenal at random times? People, I was up and stupid o'clock. I start work at 9:30. I was up at dumb o'clock to watch us in the pre-season game, where there's just a whole heap of youngsters in that. As much as I love the young players, No one can tell me I don't love my club. So if you inspire me, I'll always support my club. I'll always back my club. I'll always cheer my club on. But when I talk about inspiration, galvanizing me, making me feel we can accomplish something, making me feel that we're doing something special, we're not there yet. I'm not going to lie to you lot, people. We're not there yet. If the players get, I said this last year, the players, if you give me every reason to be confident in some games, I'll be confident. If you give me reasons to not be confident, I won't be confident, people. I'm not here one of these YouTubers or people talking about football on the net that's going to be saying things for the sake of it. The players need to motivate me. I've seen certain things to get motivated. On one hand, top four missed out by a point. On the other hand, we got to the Europa League final. Flip that hand and use other hands now. You look at the teams in the Europa League competition, we was expected to get to the final. How can I praise you for that? Top four, whether it's coaching, whether it's the players, whether it's this and that. Yes, we missed out by a point, but we messed up several ways in that season. And if we just isolate it away from results and we just look at our defending and the many sub categories of defending as to where we've gone wrong, particularly in games away from home, you will see certain things. If you improve these sort of things, or people, and I say again, we're not going to fix all of this in pre-season or just with signings. This takes time. But if the players are showing me, okay, we're still conceding goals, for instance, extreme example, but we're still conceding goals, but I'm seeing that players are trying to be switched on. They're trying to cover space. They try to follow my man rather than leaving a free runner. Midfielder following runners. If I'm seeing that they're trying to improve, then I'll do you get me? I see that. I'm galvanized. It's down to them to prove it to me, people. There's good footballers at this club. On our day, we can beat almost any team. We have these selective days, like you've seen with the FA Cup, the occasional big game under Emery and under Wenger. The problem is our days aren't often. There's 38 Premier League games, people. We had a decent record against some of the top six last season. 38 Premier League games. Spurs, we missed that. Spurs, you'd say from a domestic point of view, they didn't have a good season. But they're more together as a squad than us, and they've got better consistency than us over 38 games. Chelsea, people were saying this, that, and the other. Whether it was luck, whether it was this, whatever people want to say, at the end of the day, I'm going to praise the players and say they were galvanised, they saw an opportunity, and they turned it around, winning a Europa League title and getting top four, people. We need to be able to do that because it was in our hands, people. Top four was in our hands. That tells me that these players were sat in that locker room and what was said, people? What was said? The people not want, like I said at the beginning, the fear of bottling these sort of situations, it should keep you up at night. Do I feel these players are upset if they lose games? Of course. But until certain principles are installed in this club, and better yet, when certain principles become the bare minimum rather than praising people for showing heart, passion, getting to further rounds of competitions, on one hand you should be, until you stop praising people for that, it's not going to happen. And by the same topic, you can't blame fans for praising people for doing this, because certain attributes have become a rarity. Things possibly we took for granted at this club, regardless of when we're winning titles or not, it's been taken for granted. Until we get back, strip football back to the basics, people, defending, attacking like a team, galvanization, damn right, teamwork consistently, we're not going to go nowhere. So we need to pull together as a club and as a fan base. But it's seeing is believing. That's for me anyways. Some of you lot agree with me and share my opinions and disagree with me and all of these things. This is what makes football good, innit? I only speak for myself. I don't claim to be no spokesman for no one. I'm only offering my own opinion. So if you think differently than me, rather than criticize, just present your ideas and that. But for me, seeing is believing, people. Seeing is believing. There's no, like, I can't put in any other words. Seeing is believing. If you told me be excited, for me, that means, okay, cool, shut my mouth until the end of the window comes. The end of the window comes, for me, if I see a centre-half and a left-back, I'm kushti. The Zahas, the Ceballos, all of these sort of signings, people, that's all gravy. That's all icing on top of the cake. But personally, if you bring me them sort of positions there, or just a centre-half or something, I can get behind something. So I'm going to shut my mouth and be excited about that. I don't know what the club's planning. No one does. So until the window comes, I'll shut up, people. Personally, in terms of course, I'm frustrated that there's no signings here and whatnot. But I don't know what the club's planning. Shout out to Martinelli as well. I don't want to disrespect him by saying we ain't signed no one, because I don't feel he was eye-catching against Rapids. But he's a young player. He's got a couple of tools that he can work with. Got to give him a bit of time. You don't know where people can blossom. So I don't really have nothing more to say. Really and truly, I've been here 10 minutes too long, people. I really apologise for taking up most of your time. We've been here for around 25 minutes or so now. So on that note, apologies, people. I'm out. DG, comment, subscribe, like the vid for me. yeah, haters dislike the vid for me. I've been seeing a lot of them ones. Like, right, man, must be really coming up, man. So I see some dislikes. I'm like, right, what did I do to you, man? But anyways, people, DG.